Hello again YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. Today is day 5 of my road trip down into East Anglia and back again. I'm actually in Newcastle upon Tyne at the train station because it's cost me £8 to park overnight in the city centre, which is a bargain. So today it's just basically roll my way home. I'm not in a particular hurry. I just want to get there in as relaxed and the most efficient way that I can. And there's no better vehicle to do it in with an EV than a Tesla. So we've got 34% in the battery, which is absolutely fine to get me going. So do the swipe right. And it's going to plot my route. So it's going to charge me up at Addiston on the A1 and then Dundee to arrive home for about 4:10. Perfect. Let's go do that. It's a bit damp this morning. It's just rained on me as I walk back to the car, and it's only 6 degrees. So that will have a bit of an impact on efficiency, but as we've seen on other parts of this trip, I don't think it will be too bad. It would be good to be able to beat my current efficiency. So I'm on 290 now, lifetime. It was on 291 when I set off. This should just let me out. Yes, good. And I have done 281 watt hours per mile on this trip so far, which has been 823 miles so far, which is quite a while. Now, this, my turning circle just isn't good enough, right? This turns like a supertanker. I've had quite a few occasions like that where I've had to shunt to get around, which is quite funny, really. 10 minutes away from the supercharger at Addiston. It is preconditioning the battery, or it has been at least. So when you go onto the energy use chart, it's showing me that it has burned 5.7% of the battery for conditioning, which is actually 0.5% less than it was expecting, which is good. So it's getting the battery ready so that we can have a really fast charge when we get there, hopefully. Consumption wise, so the A1 is treating me kindly today. We're rolling along doing 55-60 miles an hour pretty much consistently on all of the single carriageway sections at least, and energy use actually has been relatively high though, because there's quite a few hilly bits on the climb out of the northeast towards Morpeth. So we're actually on 365 watt hours per mile on the 5 mile average and 386 on the 15. I'm not going to show you the 30 because that includes some of the stuff from a previous day, but you can see the spikes. So there's been a lot of climbing and then descending basically that's got us into this position. But when I set off, it said I was going to arrive with 6% in the battery, and it's now saying I'm going to arrive with 9%. So we are doing better than it expected. Okay, let's see what kind of rate of charge we get. Because yesterday we didn't get a lot. So I did a video yesterday at Ferrybridge Services where, we got a really slow charge. So it was another V3 supercharger like this one, and I arrived on a similar state of charge, I think slightly less, and with a preconditioned battery, and it just trundled. I actually thought I might get slightly quicker on this one as well. So 192 kilowatts, well, 193. Okay, is that the peak? I thought I might be north of 200, comfortably north of 200, but either way, that's still pretty quick. So it wants to charge for another 30 minutes here. That will get me past Edinburgh to the supercharger at Dundee for basically a top off to then get me home. We passed a wide load that was parked up in a lay-by a little earlier, and looking at the speed that the cars are going northbound, I assume that's just gone past. So hopefully I don't actually need to go just yet because I think that could be quite slow. But let's go and have a look. So without crushing chocolate and things. Oh yeah, good. 20 minutes remaining still. That's actually helpful. Let the wide load and the traffic clear before we have to move on, because yeah, they are doing what, 30 miles an hour maybe, so we've slowed down already actually to 96. I really should be well into the 150s or something, I would have thought by now, on a usual charging curve. That's interesting. So I've had that now twice, where the charge rate slows down. So we didn't start off quickly enough. We started off at 193, and I think it should have been in the 250s, and it's already throttled all the way back to 94, despite the fact I'm only on 55%. Okay, 15 minutes left now, fine, okay. Just while I'm sat here, you may or may not have seen a couple of videos where I've had a second angle, which was recorded using this mount. You're not going to get any of that on this video because the sucker on the end has basically come apart. So I need to replace that, and the spare is at home. Coming to the end of the charge here at Addiston, and I just want to make a little point. So this is costing, look, 44 pence a kilowatt hour, 44p a kilowatt hour, and when I plugged in I was getting 193 kilowatts. That is truly brilliant, because I was actually chatting with my friend who's got a Polestar 2 this morning before we both respectively set off. He was also looking for somewhere to charge his car, and he was having a look at different locations, and most of them had a peak of 50 kilowatts, and his car can only take 150 kilowatts when it's completely empty. So this can take 250, his can take 150. So I think the most I've ever seen is 241. So I suspect his is going to top out at 140, 130, something like that. So even where I've had a slightly slower charge, and it has slowed itself down a little bit quicker here, it is charging so much quicker than most other cars are actually able to do, and it's ridiculously cheap. 44p a kilowatt hour compared to, you know, he was looking at stuff that was 73p, 75p a kilowatt hour for a much slower charge. This, as I've said in another video, is the Tesla advantage. This is what just getting a Tesla versus anything else gets you: the ability to charge up much quicker and much cheaper. Anyway, we are basically done here, and it's slowed down now to what, 56? Yeah, and it's telling me to unplug. So let's go and do that. Ooh, a bit of wind, which is nice. Now, I've filmed myself plugging and unplugging a couple of times using the wrong hand. So I am right-handed, and this now is my right hand. So the button on the top, press and hold. It disconnects, pull it out, stick it back in the holster, and the flap closes itself. It's that simple. I have not had to go and register on an app specifically for this charger and put credit card details and stuff in. My Tesla account, which I had to create to be able to buy the car, is all you need. It plugs in, it knows what car you're in, it knows what your credit card is, and it just gets on with it. Talking about getting on with it, that's what we're going to do now, going that way. Coming up on the Scottish border now, just north of Berwick. It doesn't seem to know whether it wants to be a sunny day or wet. So I've been in glorious sunshine, and now there's water on the screen. Hey, back in Scotland. I don't know what to think. It's 8 degrees. It shouldn't be affecting my efficiency too much, but obviously I've just stopped again in Berwick to grab a snack, which has pushed that up. But I mean, my overall efficiency of 289 on the 30 mile average, that's decent. I can't really show you an average for this whole trip today, because I've got my lifetime trip set obviously since I got the car. I've got trip A is my full 5-day trip with all of the days that I've been doing it, so I can only show since charge or since I last stopped. I'll do an aggregate of those later, but we know what the start was on here, so we'll be able to aggregate it versus that. Torness power station in front of us. I think a lot of people consider EVs as being bad for the environment because they say, where's the electricity coming from? And obviously some of it will come from nuclear, but certainly here in Scotland, so much electricity now is renewable. there is a huge number of wind farms in this country, and generating an awful lot of very, very clean power. The other thing, of course, is, let's be honest about this, it's not as if petrol or diesel doesn't use electricity. You actually need quite a lot of electricity to crack the oil into the different petrochemical processes and products that come out of it, including petrol and diesel and kerosene and aviation fuel and all those other things. A lot of power. And then when you burn it in an engine, it is far less efficient than the transmission of power you get through an electric motor. So it's just a lazy argument from a lot of people, you know, and I just honestly ignore it a lot of the time. It's quite silly. That was good for autopilot. The lane just split into two and it selected the left-hand one without any issues. And then as we come up to the end here, it's going to merge back again. And let's see if it wanders me slightly across into the middle or hugs the line. Yeah, very, very, very slightly across to the right, but nothing dramatic. I've also had it occasionally where you get a lane going off like there, a right turn refuge lane, where it kind of gets lost and just jumps a little bit. We didn't have any of that there, so that was much better. Not much better is this horrible concrete road surface. There's not many of them left in the UK, and that's really a good thing. I do wonder how people who've got lots of concrete road surfaces like in America, how do you cope with the noise? On the approach to the Sheriff Hall roundabout on the Edinburgh city bypass, and this is one of my favourite features actually of autopilot, is its traffic following ability when you're in a queue like this is absolutely brilliant, because not only is it taking care of throttle and regen and braking, it's also able to map all around the car everything that's there. So it is seeing a full 360 degree view using all of the side cameras and the rear camera and the front cameras. So that can see more and anticipate more than I could if I was driving manually. And that's why autopilot really is a good safety system, because you know it is keeping me at a sensible distance from the traffic in front. It is protecting me from vehicles around, so it's just showing there somebody coming up alongside me to the right. I can see them in the mirror, but if I wasn't looking in the mirror, I might not notice them. The car knows they're there and is acting accordingly. Autopilot's great. We're coming up on the Queensferry Crossing, and as you can see, it has completely lost all of our map data. So it's still plotting me where we are, but there's quite literally nothing. There is no satellite image, there's no map view, it's all gone. So I'm going to do a double button reset of the car just to show you that I can, and I'm going to do it as we drive across the bridge here. So what we're going to do is we'll line up with a guy here, and then I'm going to do press and hold both buttons simultaneously and see if that clears the problem. Still holding the buttons, and then when the screen goes blank I can release it. So I'm now rebooting the car. The car is still driving. Yeah, the car is still driving. I don't have autopilot in terms of steering, but I have actually still got cruise control. So I don't know what speed I'm doing. I'm not speeding because I'm following the traffic in front, but the car is still doing that for me while it's rebooting itself and hopefully coming up with data. But it is a little freaky driving along with a screen that is completely blank. Oh, that was... Ooh, it's coming back. Okay, yeah, so I've still got cruise set at 65. And it's putting the route back in. That's good. I mean, we are going properly slowly, 52 miles an hour for here. Well, this is interesting. Look, we've still got no map data. So it knows where we are, but it's not showing me anything. So it says routing with no traffic data. Yeah, so I'm wondering whether it hasn't actually rebooted the LTE data signal yet, and that does appear to be the case, because if I tap up here, it says Wi-Fi is off. Well, it is, but it's got no thing. So it's like the eSIM card has basically disabled itself. I wonder if it's going to come back. This is genuinely something that I haven't seen before. It's done something completely new here in basically braining itself. But that would explain why we stopped getting map data, is basically because it's got absolutely no signal at all. So I think what I'm going to do... Ooh, hang on, look! It has come back. As if by magic. So I have not got the slightest idea what happened there, other than sometimes when your mobile phone loses signal and suddenly it knows you're moving, but it doesn't know exactly where you're at, and I can use Google Maps while I'm out and about, and if I go through a black spot, it will do that. So I suspect it's exactly the same thing. But look, I think it was a useful exercise to do. You can reboot the car whilst you're still driving, and it still maintain cruise control. So, and I suspect had I had full autopilot engaged, it would have maintained that as well. So all it's doing is it's rebooting the front end, but the autonomous bits are still going. So it's like, you know, the car is still breathing and still making its heartbeat, even though it's not thinking about it. Still on the M90, probably should do a quick efficiency upgrade. Efficiency update. An upgrade would be nice. No, we have done 103 miles since the Addison Supercharger, and I am actually, no, let's do trips. So 103 miles since the Addison Supercharger, and I have burned 272 watt hours per mile, which is below the overall for this trip of 286 watt hours per mile across 973 miles, and is below my lifetime average of 291. So it's nicely efficient. And again, at the very, very beginning of this trip, I said that I wanted to try and reduce my lifetime average. Now, I haven't actually successfully done that yet. It did actually go up, I think, on day one, and it's gone back down to 291. I did see 290 briefly, and it's gone back up again. So if we carry on like this, and I know people will say, but Ian, you're not doing the speed limit on the motorway, but I'll be honest, a lot of the time I just waft along anyway like this. I'm quite happy doing your 65. You don't really get there any slower. It doesn't make that big a difference, especially as, quite frankly, you need to have a completely empty motorway to be able to benefit from the slight difference in speed. Otherwise, you're slowing down when you get into traffic and then speeding back up again, and slowing down and speeding back up. You don't really have that problem, I find, if you do 65, and I've done a lot of miles over the years, so that's kind of why I do this sort of speed. A very twisty and steep section of motorway coming up, which is an interesting test really for autopilot, because we know the system is absolutely brilliant on motorways, genuinely brilliant, but it does like them because they're relatively straight. Obviously there are bends, but nothing too exciting. But I mean, you can see on the map here, you know, we go in a complete loop around this hill, which is over here. So this is, I think, the steepest hill anywhere on the UK motorway network, and it's certainly one of these sweeping bends. And okay, I'm only doing 65 rather than 70, but it doesn't feel like it's having any issues going around here at all. It's keeping me planted very squarely in the middle of the lane as we go around, and it just feels absolutely fine. And you get a fab view when you look out from here, obviously across the Tay onto the mountains beyond. But yeah, that causes no problems at all for autopilot. It just shrugs it off and goes, yeah, is that it? Really has turned into a beautiful day now we've crossed the border back into Scotland. What a fab view of the bridge you get. as you approach it, and then swing round onto it, and the hillside beyond it, and the little tower on top of the little cliff up there sticking out from the trees. You see it? Fabulous view. When I come across, this is the River Tay that we're going across. This is called the Friarton Bridge at the end of the motorway. This is on the trip home where I start to feel like I'm approaching my parts of Scotland. So obviously I'm not Scottish, English, but I live in the northeast of Scotland, and I think once you cross the Tay, that's when it starts to feel as if, you know, I'm approaching the part that I call home. And all of Scotland's beautiful, it really is. But for me, the further north you go, the more exciting it gets. The more that my eyes go slightly wide and go, oh wow. And I've been coming north into Scotland on road trips for 20 years, and it's just so exciting that I actually live here now. Coming up on the Dundee Supercharger, the little icon on the map is showing me that there are 5 stalls available, and having checked, yes, 5 of the 8. Now this is a V2 supercharger because it's got a maximum charge speed of 150 kilowatts. So what we're looking for when we get in there is a non-paired stall. And what I mean by that, if you've seen any of my other videos, the Type 2 chargers like these, basically you have an A stall and a B stall, and they are both paired, and they will take 150 kilowatts split between them. So if somebody is on the A stall and you plug into the B stall, you are only going to get a maximum of about 75. So what we want is to find basically a stall that's not got anybody on either of them. Now it says 5 of the 8 are available, which suggests there will be one, which is the one we want. Let's go and have a look then. So this is Dundee. It's actually at a hotel, and you go around the back and into the car park. Right, let us have a look-see here, shall we? So it says 5 are available. Okay, we don't want that one. A Nero charging up, so not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. So I want to go on to that one. And what that should mean is that we start charging at full speed as we come in, providing that I have got that right. Let's go and have a look. So I've just plugged in, and as you can see, we have gone straight to pretty much the maximum that we can get. That is good, 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 good. Had I gone on to one of the other stalls, so had I gone and plugged in next to the red Model 3, or had I gone and plugged in next to the red Model S or the Niro, I wouldn't have got as fast a charge. So if you come to one like this and it's less than 250 kilowatt of speed, that means it's Type 2, a V2, and you want to find one that isn't paired. Otherwise, it's going to be slow. We're still charging, and we are actually still charging really rapidly. So 52% now state of charge, and still delivering 109 kilowatts. So it's running quicker actually than the V3 charger was up at Adderstone. I'm also looking at how much power I actually need to put in. So it's basically telling me another 10 minutes. I don't think I need that long. So it's 112 or so miles to home from here, and on the 30-mile average I'm on 137 range, 124 on the 15, 150 on the 5-mile average. So basically I don't think I need a lot more, and there's no point really me overfilling, because if I do so, all that's going to mean is basically that I get home with more supercharged power in the battery than I need. Supercharging costs at the moment really have dropped again. It's the Tesla advantage. Charging is so cheap compared to other networks. However, it's still more expensive than charging at home. So if I can avoid doing that, I'm going to do so. What I'm looking at therefore is it's offering me 109 miles to get home. I don't think I need to put a huge amount more in, really. So at the moment it's saying I'm going to arrive home on 9%. So I am going to put in only as far as 60%, and then I'm going to unplug. I love this view on the Aberdeen Western bypass. We have just gone past the turn for the airport. Actually, it's behind this hill on my right, but you know, you kind of come sweeping round here, especially with the sun behind us the way it is, and you know, the northeast really starts opening up, because I think Aberdeen feels like a long way for quite a lot of people, but I'm going past Aberdeen and then I'm keeping going, which feels, the first time I did it was just like, blimey, there's more. But yes, there is. Meanwhile though, I've got 40 minutes left to run, and my efficiency is 284, 274, somewhere around that. I mean, we'll ignore the 188 on the 5 mile because that's just silly. So overall, since we recharged 289 watt hours per mile, the whole trip is still 287, which is 3.4 something miles per kilowatt hour, which I still think is decent, and that's across 1,084 miles, which I've done so far on this trip. So it's going to be about 1,115 or something by the time I get home. So I'm doing these kind of trips so that you don't have to, but it is this basic thing about it's not a problem if you just got a Tesla. Approaching the end of the Aberdeen Western bypass, and the wind farm offshore in front demonstrates exactly what the future is for this part of the world, which is renewables. Yes, there's still a huge amount of oil and gas work offshore that goes on, but increasing amount of renewables. There are wind farms going up everywhere. In Fraserburgh there is the HQ for a huge Moray Coast, so the North Coast wind farm that is under construction. Again, driving an EV, seeing lots of wind turbines, this is good. You know, this is clean, cheap energy, which is what we're all going to need. And that is that the electric version, or is that just the plug-in hybrid? I'm not entirely sure. And then what I am going to do though is absolutely get out of the way, because I've got somebody else who wants to try and squeeze their way past me. So let's just accelerate up to speed and get on with it. Much better. Not far from home now, and we've actually still got 14% in the battery. I probably overfilled it a little bit at Dundee. So what that means is there's a little bit of battery spare to have some fun. Yes, 0 to 60 is the dick waving part, but actually what this car is most impressive is the ability to rapidly pick up speed, actually from any speed, to then go overtaking. You can whap past almost anything effortlessly in this car. It's just unreal. And I did another video a little while back, which I think was called Tesla Handling Fun, just showing how much you can chuck this car around bends, and with all-wheel drive and electric motors allowing the nose to turn in, how it is nicely chuckable, and it really is. You can have a lot of fun chucking this car around without going too crazy, obviously, officer. And we're back home. So before I go and plug it in, I need to go and unload first, but let's just have a look at trip information if we can. So the entire trip, I've done 1,121 miles in 5 days. I've burned 323 kilowatt hours of power and an average of 288 watt hours per mile, so about 3.45 I think it is. miles per kilowatt hour. So that has beaten my lifetime of 291. And if you remember, I said I wanted to beat that number. It hasn't come down, but I have reduced it. So I am doing better than I was before. And it probably hasn't come down because I'm on 9,605 miles. It is late February. I got the car mid-September on a 15,000 mile a year package. Yeah, we're over that. We're going to carry on being over that, but never mind. So really, my concluding thoughts on this is not only has today been exactly what I needed, it's been relaxing, it's been comfortable, I've not really had to do much thinking because, as usual, the car tells me when to charge. But what the overall trip has done is show me just how practical and comfortable the Tesla Model Y is if you need to do long trips. So 1,100 miles is a decent outing, okay? And I've spread it across 5 days, but that's still a good chunk of trip. I have carried work stuff. I have picked up the big Lego Titanic box. I've had my suitcase and laptop bag. I've bought other things. So I've made really good use of boot. I have been shunting things around in there. This is a really good car if you need to use it. So not just a car to go up and down in and you only you'll carry a small bag or something most of the time. If you actually need space and comfort and efficiency, I just can't recommend the thing more highly. You know, my friend has a Polestar 2. It's similarly priced, I think, at the top end, but it's smaller, and the charging network that he has to rely on is really poor. You know, managed to find a new GridServe 350 kilowatt charger, which of course you can only get 150 at the top end, and didn't get anywhere near that. You know, I plugged in, I'm getting 200. So look, Tesla, it's the only game in town, really. And that's not going to change, I don't think, in the foreseeable future. And on that note, I'm going to leave it there. So don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell icon, you know all of this. And I'll see you very soon back here on Just Get a Tesla.